Good evening, you watching India First. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Big story coming in from Dominica, where the public prosecutor in Dominica has argued that Mehul Choksi's petition is not maintainable. The public prosecutor is saying Mehul Choksi should be sent back to India. Choksi should be deported to India is the view of the government of Dominica. Remember, this is exactly what the Prime Minister of Antigua had also said. Mehul Choksi had brought disgrace to Antigua. He hoped that the government of Dominica would send him back to India. But the matter is in court. It is being heard in the High Court of Dominica even as we speak. And the public prosecution service has insisted in court that Choksi's petition is not maintainable, that the petition should not be heard. Remember, there is also an 8-member Indian team present in Dominica at this point of time. I'll get you much more on this big story. Action-packed 60 minutes. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Let's get started with the headlines on India First. Supreme Court calls centre's vaccination policy arbitrary, orders the Narendra Modi government to furnish complete data on the purchase of vaccines. The Supreme Court also directs the centre to give in detail its plan to inoculate the population of India. Drug regulator waives off trials for foreign vaccines cleared by the World Health Organization or global health bodies. Centre in favour of granting indemnity both to Moderna and to Pfizer. Mob attacks a young doctor at a COVID centre in Assam after a patient dies. 24 arrested. The Indian Medical Association seeks an effective law to stop attacks on frontline workers. United Nations report says COVID pandemic pushed 100 million more people into poverty. Study suggests employment won't bounce to pre-pandemic era till at least 2023. And news coming in from Dominica that a court is to pronounce its verdict shortly. Arguments have concluded on both sides in the High Court of Dominica. What we are also being told is that the government in Dominica, the public prosecutor, has argued that Mehul Choksi should be deported to India. The Dominican Public Prosecution Service says Choksi's petition is not maintainable. The petition should not be heard. Remember, there is an 8-member Indian team also on standby. A team of the Central Bureau of Investigation, the Enforcement Directorate and officials of the Ministry of External Affairs. You've got diplomats who are standing by, emphatically making a plea that Mehul Choksi is accused of serious financial fraud in India. Here is a man who stands accused of a fraud to a tune of 13,500 crore rupees plus the Punjab National Bank scam. And that is the bigger issue. He should be deported to India. I want to quickly cut across to India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan and Munish Pandey, who's tracking the Enforcement Directorate and CBI very closely. They join me on the broadcast. Munish, you've been speaking to CBI officials on ground and at the headquarters. What's the latest?
Yeah, well, Gaurav, what I'm hearing from my sources who are in Dominica, that the arguments from both the sides is over. From Mehul Choksi's side, the argument was that India cannot be party in this case because this matter is of illegally entering into the country, and they have already pleaded that they were abducted and Mehul Choksi was tortured and taken to Dominica. So he is ready to go back to Antigua. That is what the lawyers are claiming. That's the lawyer argued Mehul Choksi's lawyer argued before the Dominican High Court. But what we are hearing from my sources in Central Bureau of Investigation and those who are in Dominica is that India made a very strong case through the Dominican prosecution agency. India also submitted some of the applications, including the ED affidavit, which said that Mehul Choksi is an Indian citizen. He has committed a serious fraud. The evidence were given, and also there is a red corner notice against Mehul Choksi. All these documents were given to the court. Apart from that, the argument also included the submission by the Dominican government, which becomes very important, Gaurav, because what Dominican court said that this man should be sent back to India because there he is wanted. And secondly, what they said that the plea by Mehul Choksi is not maintainable in the
That's a very important point you're making, and I want to bring in Geeta Mohan for more on this. Geeta, the fact that Dominican Prosecution Service is saying that this man should be deported to India, how much weight will that carry? Of course, this is a case that's currently being heard, is about Mehul Choksi having allegedly illegally entered Dominica. His lawyers have argued that he was abducted. Be that as it may, India's case in court, how strong is that? Of course, it's being argued through the Dominican government. Geeta.
Well, it is a strong case in terms of what India wants, the documents that India has provided, and the purpose and motive of India seeking deportation of Mehul Choksi to India. Having said that, they are going to go by the rules, and this was a habeas corpus petition. So the two sides have argued. The judge, Justice Stevenson, she's writing the order as we speak. But developments over here right now, what sources are telling me, and I was just going to put that out, Gaurav, is that this could very well not be a very definitive order. It could very well take a few more days, and there could be another hearing in the coming days. And if that is the case, it is going to be a little prolonged than the Indian side was expecting. Of course, this would certainly be something that could be looked at as a positive result or outcome for Mehul Choksi if he's not deported immediately, or if the decision is not definitive from the judge's point of view. What we're given to understand right now is that the judge is writing her order, but also that the order might not be very definitive, and it could take a few more days. There could be an adjournment and a next hearing.
Sure, but as far as the initial case is concerned, Munish, and before I bring in our guests and get you more on this big story about developments that are taking place in Dominica, we also have a correspondent, Gail, who will join us. But Gail is in a in the court of law at this point of time, as the order is being dictated even as we speak. But Munish, this was a habeas corpus case, that where is Mehul Choksi? So there was a video conferencing. The judge saw him. So that part is settled. The second part, which is extremely crucial, whether he entered Dominica on his own illegally to go to Cuba, as was being argued initially, or was he abducted and brought here? And what happens next? What are your sources saying about the road ahead? Munish.
Yeah, well, Gaurav, this argument was made by Mehul Choksi's lawyer that he was abducted. But for Dominican court, it is, the prosecution agency, what they will be submitting. And they submitted that this man was found illegally entering into the country, and that is why he was arrested. Now, that is part number one. Now, what is the road ahead? Now, as far as Mehul Choksi is concerned, he has already said through his lawyers that he is ready to go back to Antigua. But he is not saying that he is ready to go back to India or any other thing. Now, apart from that, we are also hearing that the lawyers of Mehul Choksi, they are also trying to find out that if they lose this case, then there is any other option. Is there any appellate court where they can again file an appeal before the Dominican court and before the deportation can take place if it goes in favor of India? So they are trying to find out the options. But as far as the court is concerned, whether there is a full order or where there is an interim order, that we have to see. And second, if there is an order in favor of India, then what the strategy of Mehul Choksi's lawyers are going to be, because I'm hearing that they are looking for some other legal options in terms of appealing before any other court in Dominica.
You know, because we will also get our viewers more details, and Geeta and Munish have their ear to the ground. What we're also being told is that Mehul Choksi is trying to use opposition leaders in Dominica and in Antigua. There was an opposition leader in Dominica who went to the court. Now, why would he do that? We also have Navneet Wasan, former Joint Director of the Central Bureau of Investigation, joining me on the broadcast, and Ambassador Anil Trigunayat, a former diplomat, with us on the show. And if I may, Mr. Wasan, how do you look at the developments at this point of time? If the prosecution service says he should be deported to India, if Antigua's Prime Minister says they don't want him in Antigua, and there is an Interpol red corner notice, so what weight does an Interpol red corner notice actually carry in a court of law, sir?
See, let me put the things in right perspective. Now, the case before the Dominican government is whether he is to be sent back to Antigua or he should be deported to India. It's not a question of extradition. There is a very, very subtle difference between deportation and extradition.
Yes.
Extradition is a legal process, whereas deportation is a totally sovereign function. It's an administrative function of the government. Now, it is up to the Dominica government whether to allow him to go back to Antigua or deport him to India. It's not a legal decision. The court will not be giving any such order as far as my understanding of the law goes.
Okay.
Therefore, let's hope, and how much diplomatic pressure, how much diplomatic leeway we have with Dominica, that we should be able to get him here.
Very interesting question that you raised, and let me take that to Ambassador Trigunayat. Sir, our cooperation, our relationship with Dominica, the fact that both Antigua and Dominica have indicated he needs to be sent to India. How do you look at this case pan out from this point, sir?
Well, Gaurav, you know that India's relationship with both Dominica and Antigua, Barbados, is excellent, and in fact all the CARICOM countries.
Yes.
And in the last few years we have provided them immense assistance, and the Dominica president himself, Prime Minister, was so thankful to us when we provided about 100,000 vaccines to them, which they were begging. And therefore they think that this guy Mehul Choksi is a hot potato. Nobody wants to handle him. The Antigua Prime Minister doesn't want him back at all. He has told the Dominican authorities that please send him back to India. They are under tremendous pressure, and not only because of this, because of the excellent bilateral relationship we have.
Yes.
Secondly, Mehul Choksi is a criminal. There is a red corner notice on him. So, in my view, I don't know how the courts are going to go by this, because the thing is that the question, in my view, is when I look at the two passports, whether the Indian passport or other citizenship you can call it, or the Antigua passport, both have been in question as far as this man is concerned.
Indeed.
One, he has given up himself by obtaining a new citizenship. The second one, he is being deprived of because of his concealment of the crimes that he has committed in India. So he's under investigation on both counts. So basically nobody wants him there.
Except the opposition, Geeta Mohan, if I may. Geeta, it's a cause for grave concern. Okay, so the latest that we are getting is that hearing has been adjourned. The verdict may be expected tomorrow. That's the information that is coming in. Dominica's court is to adjourn the hearing till tomorrow. We were told that an order is being written out, but perhaps the hearing has been adjourned to tomorrow. I once again want to bring in Geeta Mohan for more on this. Geeta, the opposition leader in Dominica was present in court. We are told that Antigua's opposition is virtually batting for Mehul Choksi to be sent back to Antigua. You've interviewed opposition leaders there. So it's also become a political hot potato in both the countries, in Dominica and in Antigua.
Well, that's right. Justice Stevenson is yet to come out and announce what her opinion of the arguments that have been put forth are. But for now, the habeas corpus petition, Gaurav, has been adjourned. We are told that the next hearing is going to be tomorrow, that's June 3rd at 9 a.m. So this matter is going to continue. Although Mehul Choksi, like you very rightly pointed out, had attended the entire proceedings via Zoom, and Munish has some breaking news on that front. You might like to go to him as well. But Mehul Choksi will have to be brought before the magistrate's court immediately on the charge of illegal entry. Now, that's the developments from court right now. Important developments coming in from Mehul Choksi and what he's told to the court as well.
Okay, Munish, you've been speaking to both the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate, and apparently Mehul Choksi's legal team seem to have a couple of aces up their sleeve trying to ensure that he's not sent back to India, Munish.
Yeah, well, Gaurav, as I was saying earlier, now there is a important development when Mehul Choksi was, he joined the proceedings through the video conferencing. What he told the court is that he doesn't feel safe in Dominica and he should be sent back to Antigua, and he's ready to pay for his, going back to Antigua. That is development number one. Now, as far as I was telling you, the lawyers of Mehul Choksi, they are looking for options because they know that if there is an order from the Dominican High Court, then they will need to look for an option if they want to make this plea before any other court or not. And what I am hearing through my sources that there are two appellate courts where they can move the application if they lose this case and if there is an order for deportation. So what they are trying to do, the legal team of Mehul Choksi is trying to do, is that to make sure that this matter is delayed, and if it is delayed into legalities, then everyone knows that then it will be months when India can get Mehul Choksi from Dominica. And if they are able to convince the lower court, and then he can again go back to Antigua. So these are the legal challenges for India also, that they need to fight with the Dominican authorities. But as far as Mehul Choksi's lawyers are concerned, remember there are lawyers from Britain, there are lawyers from Dominica, there are lawyers from Antigua, all top lawyers of these countries, and they are making a case for Mehul Choksi, and they are looking for options. But now we have to wait for tomorrow what happens in the Dominica High Court.
Mr. Wasan, the amount of money that Mehul Choksi appears to be throwing around, saying I'll pay for my fare back to Antigua or getting a legal team from the United Kingdom, practically for all practical purposes, this is your money and mine. It is the Indian taxpayers' money of the 13,500 crore rupee Punjab National Bank scam, sir. So is there some way between this court order, should that be in India's favor, and before the appeal, I'm told India has a jet that's on standby at Dominica to bring this man back, or is this likely to get stuck in legalities in Dominica?
You see, seeing from Choksi's point of view, he will try his best that the whole thing gets entangled into legal whirlpool, and he will try to stay put, go back to Antigua and stay put there and fight his battle. He will, use all his resources because he has got huge money, and it is not his money, as you said, it's my money or your money, it's public's money from India, which he is sitting on, and he can afford to throw the money to the best legal brains and fight his case in the court and ensure that his departure to India, his deportation to India, or his extradition to India is delayed.
Okay.
Because, he has been fighting a case in Dominica, in Antigua also, because its citizenship has been questioned. It was in 2018. He has been fighting the case there. Even the Prime Minister said he doesn't want him here, but he is not able to throw him out. Was he able to send him back? He was not able to send him back to India.
Imagine the clout. Imagine the clout that somebody like Mehul Choksi has, given the kind of money he has now. But Ambassador Trigunayat, you were saying that government of India is very close, or India is very close, because the amount of development aid we've helped the Caribbean with, the Caribbean countries with, whether it's a parliament or other kind of aid or vaccine Maitri. But the opposition, and this has become a big political case in those countries, the opposition seems to be very close to Mehul Choksi. Does that increase our problems?
Well, this is also true. And secondly, that the opposition always try to exploit a situation like that. In these countries, there are such cases are few and far between, which gives them that international profile that they get. And so precisely the opposition is just counting that is our sovereignty issue, that you cannot just buckle under pressure of any government or any country. This is the same problem the Antigua Prime Minister is facing and the Dominican Prime Minister is facing. But they have their legal recourses there. But I think that if even if there is, let us say, an appeal in the higher court, which there is a Supreme Court which actually covers the 3 or 4 Caribbean countries.
Yes.
So it might go up to that also in case it doesn't get settled tomorrow, because there is always a possibility that this kind of legal team and prevarications that the legal teams bring about, this might prolong a little bit. Or secondly, if the judge feels that the person has to be deported and he's a criminal and there is a red corner notice, and all the documentation have been submitted through the Dominican authorities, then I think that we might be lucky.
Well, fingers crossed. Of course, not just his legal team, even his wife, Preeti Choksi. Now, she says her husband was abducted, and she's giving other details about the alleged abduction and the mystery woman who was involved. Preeti Choksi spoke to India Today's news director Rahul Kawal just a short while back. Let's listen in.
Antiguan Prime Minister came on record with India Today to say that Barbara Jabarika, this lady who travelled with Mehul Choksi to Dominica, was his girlfriend. What are you making of the Antiguan Prime Minister's claims that your husband Mehul Choksi actually willingly accompanied Barbara?
As the entire family, we are deeply anguished by the comments of the Antiguan Prime Minister. First of all, there is a police investigation on, and I believe he should have waited for the facts to come out before making these kind of comments. If that lady went supposedly to Dominica, where is she? Where is the Dominican police report on her? When they found my husband in Dominica, he was put into from this boat into a boat of another police vessel, and he told them who he was, that he is an Antiguan, and that he has been kidnapped. Where is the kidnapping report of my husband, which is a crime? It is an international crime, kidnapping. So my question is, where is this boat today? Where is the crew? And where is Barbara?
The Indian government at this time is very hopeful that they'll be able to get Mehul Choksi back. In some senses, your husband, ma'am, has become a showcase for the government's efforts to go after economic offenders. Are you a worried woman at this time that your husband's fate quite literally hangs by a thread depending on what happens in this court in Dominica?
I would say that if this is how you showcase, or anyone wishes to showcase an economic offender by torturing them, threatening to kill them, giving them electrical shocks, it is incredible that any business person feels safe in India. My husband was a businessman. He never had an NPA until this whole saga of PNB started, alleged saga. There was never an NPA in the company. And yet, everything is like he is the biggest terrorist or murderer on earth. I would request Interpol and all the world bodies, human rights bodies, and everyone to understand that this is a kidnapping that went wrong, and it should not be allowed to become a hostage situation. My husband is a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda, and it is the duty of Antigua and Barbuda to look after their citizens. They must take him back.
The question remains, if the husband is innocent, why did he flee India? Why did he not join investigations? Why did he first go to America and then from America go to Antigua and not join investigations in India? And then what about this abduction? Where is this mystery woman? Who is this mystery woman? Who are these people who heard this so-called Indian voice just ahead of the abduction? Is all of this a part of what the legal team of Mehul Choksi are trying to build up? Because the Prime Minister of Antigua and the police commissioner have both gone on record to say there was no abduction. So who is this mystery woman? The suspected mystery woman in the Mehul Choksi case. The woman who's alleged to have befriended him, and then according to the fugitive Diamante, Mehul Choksi's lawyer played a key role in his going missing from the upscale Jolly Beach front at Antigua. Antigua's Prime Minister Gaston Brown went on record to say Mehul Choksi went out for dinner and a good time with his girlfriend.
Mehul Choksi may have made a mistake to travel to Dominica. The information that we're getting now is that he may have taken his girlfriend to Dominica, probably to dinner to have a good time and so on, and got caught.
The Antigua police chief insists there was no abduction or violence on the island.
No information or any indication from Antigua that he was forcefully removed. So we have no information, we have no evidence that he was forcefully removed from Antigua.
However, Choksi's wife, Preeti Choksi, told journalists in Antigua that the mystery woman first befriended the chef and then started going out for walks with her husband, a fact echoed by the family lawyer.
महिला थी जो उनके पड़ोस में आकर रहती थी और फिर उन्होंने शिफ्ट कर लिया था, तो उनकी फैमिली में भी आना जाना था। इवनिंग में वॉक पे मिल जाते थे दोनों आपस में।
According to information provided by the family, the mystery woman introduced herself as a property and investment consultant who had studied at the London School of Economics. She and Choksi started going out for evening walks regularly. Usually, according to the family, they went for a walk on the north side of the beach with CCTV cameras outside houses. But the day he went missing, they were apparently walking on the north side of the beach with no CCTV cameras. The family claims no CCTV camera footage of any violence or abduction was recovered. The mystery woman is believed to have rented a property close to Choksi in August 2020, but has not been spotted since the day he disappeared.
वो लेडी पहले शिफ्ट हुई थी और जो पूरा पता चल रहा है कि वो भी इस ऑपरेशन का हिस्सा थी, तो इनको ट्रैप करने के लिए वो लेडी को सीड किया गया था।
Choksi's lawyers also allege that Indian sounding voices were heard from a house around the time that Choksi disappeared, but have not elaborated who heard these voices. With Munish Pandey and Geeta Mohan, Bureau Report, India Today. And I quickly now want to take you to outside that courthouse, the High Court in Dominica, where Gail, our colleague, joins us for more. Gail, what transpired in court? Please bring us details.
All right. For right now, we are outside the High Court. From the information I have received from my colleague, the judge has made a decision that Mr. Choksi will be charged and brought before a magistrate. So, of course, both parties are to reconvene on Thursday. Currently, Mr. Choksi has expressed his feelings of basically feeling very unsafe here in Dominica and is willing to pay for his return to Antigua.
Okay, so what happens next? Now that he will be charged with illegally entering Dominica. Do I understand that correctly, Gail?
Correct. So he will be brought before a magistrate so we can carry on this case. So it's not done as yet. But for right now, the judge's decision is that he will be brought before the magistrate.
In your view, is that good news for Mehul Choksi or is that bad news for Mehul Choksi?
From my perspective, it could go either way. Of course, he seems to have a very strong legal team on his side. So based on what the court proceedings look like on this upcoming Thursday, it might be a good outcome for him, but it equally may be a bad outcome.
Okay. Gail, stay with me for a moment. I want to bring in Ambassador Anil Trigunayat for more on this. Ambassador, so the judge is of the view that there should be a case against Mehul Choksi, apparently for illegally entering that country. If that trial were to take place, has he succeeded in delaying his either deportation to India or repatriation to Antigua?
Well, yes, Gaurav, this is, if that is what the case is, so obviously he'll be sent back to Antigua because he still is seen to be the citizen there and the case is going on there. And as I said earlier, that of course the Antiguan government doesn't want him back because that puts more diplomatic pressure on them, which somehow they thought, in my view, what I can say, whatever little facts are available, is that apparently, there was a possibility that he could have been just taken away, but it has not happened. And I think that now if he goes to Antigua, there is no problem. But the Dominican government, whether they are going to go to the higher court, that remains to be seen against the judgment tomorrow.
Okay. Mr. Wasan, is that also your appreciation of the situation? Now the task of the Central Bureau of Investigation or the Enforcement Directorate, through, of course, the External Affairs Ministry and courts there, become tougher to argue for him to be deported to India?
See, as I said earlier, he will try his best. His team will try their best to ensure that his deportation to India, if at all it takes place, is delayed as much as possible, so that he can, continue to stay there either in Dominica or go back to Antigua and then fight a legal battle before he is brought back through extradition proceedings to India. So I think that is what the correspondent has informed you from there, that he has been charged with illegally entering the country and he will face a trial and he will be punished, whether he is given imprisonment or he is given a punishment that he should be sent back from which shore he has come to that country. So he will go back to Antigua, and since he is not an Indian citizen, because the Constitution of India and the Citizenship Act are very, very clear, the moment anybody becomes a citizen of another country, he automatically ceases to be a citizen of India.
Okay. Geeta, what are you picking up through your sources in the government? It always was an uphill battle, but does it become tougher, or we will wait for more clarity on this at the magistrates' court in Dominica tomorrow?
Well, on the habeas corpus matter, the matter has been adjourned and the court will reconvene tomorrow. But it is not a case completely lost, Gaurav. We'll have to wait and see what the Indian side is going to put forth, because this is not the case that India is fighting.
Yes.
The case is, like Munif said, an application being filed for the case of for the country to hear the case that India makes for deportation of Mehul Choksi to India. So while Mehul Choksi tomorrow will get an opportunity in front of the magistrate to say what he has to say, say his piece, but the fact of the matter is that while he says he feels unsafe in Dominican police custody, that's what he's told court today via Zoom, and that he should be repatriated, then the whole question, like I said, his decision, the decision of the court on illegal entry also attaches the bigger question as to then where does he go? Should he be repatriated to Antigua or deported to India? If he's an Indian citizen, should we then be looking at repatriation to India? If not, then deportation with the Interpol Red Corner notice. There are many aspects to this entire case. Both sides have lawyers present, very strong presence of lawyers in the legal team. But like Gail was saying, Mehul Choksi's team has come absolutely prepared. It's a very strong team. So it is going to be an uphill task for the Indian side to really ensure that he is put on a jet and comes back to India.
Because that jet is all fueled up and waiting in Dominica. But who is this Mehul Choksi? Suddenly, why is he in the headlines? Remember, this is a story of someone who was seen as extremely successful. But behind that success was there this 13,500 crore rupee Punjab National Bank scam that was actually being planned, because when all of this was happening, simultaneously, according to investigators, he was attempting to seek citizenship of Antigua.
स्वर्ण भारत की 3 योजनाओं का स्वर्ण शुभारंभ भारतीयों को
An event was held on 5th of November 2015 at the Prime Minister's house to unveil gold schemes, to tap into the yellow metal lying idle at Indian homes.
भारत स्वर्णिम युग के आगे बढ़े और आपका
Amongst the guests at the PM house that day was a diamond trader and jeweler from Mumbai, a certain Mehul Choksi.
बड़ा शोरूम होगा, हमारे मेहुल भाई यहाँ बैठे हैं.
Now, 6 years later, the same Mehul Choksi is no longer a celebrated diamond trader, but is an alleged fraudster, accused of a 13,000 crore scam and under arrest in faraway Dominica. The Indian government, under his one-time host, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is trying to bring Mehul Choksi back to India to face trial. Mehul Choksi was born on 5th of May 1959 in Mumbai. Mehul's father, Chinubhai Choksi, was a diamond trader and operated Gitanjali Gems, a well-known diamond jewelry chain in the city. Mehul learned the trade under his father and then in 1985 took over the 50 crore business from Chinubhai. He used to say that his dream was to make Gitanjali Gems the largest diamond jewelry chain in the world. Mehul Choksi's style of doing business was aggressive, taking risks and cutting corners. By the 1990s, it was paying off. And by the early 2000s, he was well on his way to fulfill his dreams. By 2005, Mehul Choksi's diamond and gem-studded jewelry were being sold at more than 4,000 outlets around the world. By 2006, he had even bought over a well-known US firm and had begun to be noticed internationally. It was around this time that a son of his Antwerp-based relative came to Mumbai as Mehul's understudy to learn how the diamond trade went in India. It has been alleged that Nirav Modi came here to learn the dirty tricks of the trade from Mehul Choksi. Sources say it started with the passing of poor quality diamonds as original good quality ones. An investigation by the Enforcement Directorate later established that the original cost of Mehul Choksi's diamonds were a mere 3 to 10% of the price that he charged his customers. In business, there can be ups and downs. And it was true of Mehul Choksi's business as well. His Gitanjali group of companies suffered huge hits in 2016 and 2017. It is alleged that it was at this point in time that Mehul Choksi, along with Nirav Modi, hatched a plan to siphon off money from the Punjab National Bank. The plan was simple in its mastery. On paper, Mehul Choksi and Nirav Modi had a good business track record and their credit rating was above suspicion. So the duo allegedly bribed one Gokulnath Shetty, an employee of the Punjab National Bank, to register a forged letter of undertaking. Using the letter of undertaking, Mehul Choksi and Nirav Modi got more than 13,000 crore rupees from the Punjab National Bank in 2017, only to launder it and to siphon it off. Using forged documents, Mehul Choksi got an all-clear report from Mumbai police that established him as a good citizen and that he had no pending criminal cases against him. Sources from within India's investigative setup now say that in reality, Mehul Choksi already had cases pending against him at several courts in India at this time. In November 2017, using his Mumbai police clean chit, Mehul Choksi applied for and got the citizenship of Antigua and Barbuda under the investment scheme there. In January 2018, Mehul Choksi left India for USA. This was just days before the CBI filed an FIR against Mehul Choksi, Nirav Modi and others in the PNB case. There are whispers that he was tipped off. In June 2018, a Mumbai court issued a non-bailable warrant against Mehul Choksi. But when India contacted US authorities to extradite Mehul Choksi, it was found that the fugitive diamond trader had already left USA a month ago. Mehul Choksi surfaced in Antigua, flaunting his brand new Caribbean nationality away from the reach of India's law enforcement agencies.
Will India succeed in getting him back? We'll be tracking that story very closely. To all my guests, many thanks for joining me. A very big story coming up on the other side